Thank you.
Lynette Aguero, followed by Orlando Lara, Juana Townsley, and Lena Martinez Wolfinger.
Welcome to the podium.
Thank you. Let me know. Do I start now?
Yeah, hold on a second. Go ahead and pull that microphone a little closer to you so we can make sure that everybody can hear you. And ready, set, go.
Hello, I am Lynette Aguero, the Social Studies Facilitator for Grand Prairie ISD. Thank you, Chairman Young and the rest of the committee for this opportunity. I would like to urge the Committee on Instruction to move forward bringing the innovative course Ethnic Studies, American Indian Native Studies into TEX. This course was written by American Indian Native community members, parents, educators, and college and university professors. It was vetted through TEA twice, through a Work Group E draft for TEX, and as an innovative course. In the 23-24 school year, Grand Prairie ISD is now in its third year of offering this highly beneficial course that expands students' elective choices. GPISD has a diverse student population with 67.9% of our students being Hispanic and under 1% American Indian. 49.3% of Texas students are Hispanic, and Texas has the fourth largest Native population in the United States. Many of our Hispanic students have Native roots, and this course provides new knowledge and perspectives for them as well as all Texas students. This course also helps foster a sense of belonging, enhancing our American Indian Native students' high school experience. Having actual text for a course makes it more likely that other districts will offer the course. Districts feel more confident with SBOE approval and investing the time in the course if they believe that it is there to stay, unlike an innovative course which has limited time. It also carries weight with academic authors and publishers who would then start crafting new books and resources. Ethnic Studies courses prepare students to better understand the many cultures of modern Texas. They are high interest and motivating courses for students that help them to be informed and empathetic citizens of one of the most diverse states in America. American Indian Native people are often thought of being people of the past. However, they are still here.
That's your 2 minutes. Thank you.
Orlando Lara.
Okay, so my name is Orlando Lara. I'm a graduate of Klein ISD in Spring, Texas, and a parent in Harlingen ISD. I'm also a doctoral candidate in anthropology at UC Irvine and a member of the Ethnic Studies Network of Texas. I taught ethnic studies for a total of 5 years at the community college and university level. I'm also a Chicano Studies major from Stanford University. And I served as an advisor on the Ethnic Studies course, on the American Indian Studies course, to help provide an ethnic studies perspective. And I want to talk about the benefits of ethnic studies. So ethnic studies allowed me, as it does for thousands of students, the ability to develop healthy academic and cultural identities that mutually reinforce each other. They allow those two identities to align. There's data to back this up. Thomas D. and Emily Penner, as well as Nolan Cabrera, conducted an analysis of the impact of ethnic studies courses on high school students. Both teams found that taking ethnic studies courses improves student test scores, grades, and attendance over a long period. They found this impact especially profound in students who are struggling or low performing. They also found that these impacts translated to STEM courses. Christine Sleeter conducted a review of the ethnic studies literature, and she found that white American students often report getting the most from ethnic studies courses because they're often the ones that get the least exposure to the history of ethnic communities. GPISD data also shows that the students that took the course feel more connected and better able to empathize with each other. So I have 3 recommendations. Move the course onto the full SBOE board so it can be approved for 2024, 2025. And also respect the 3 years of work that has already gone into the course. You're looking at a 6-7 draft. And if there are recommendations, work with the committee that's already created the course so that they can address those concerns. Thank you.
That's your 2 minutes. Thank you.
Kawana Townsley.
Greetings, and thank you, Chairman Young and the rest of the committee for opening up these comments. I'm Hawana Townsley, a citizen of the Comanche Nation. Quanah Parker and Wakiai are my great-grandparents. I have actively participated in the creation of this course since the first community meeting. I must acknowledge the contributions of many fellow advocates and allies, though unable to be here today, have poured their hearts into this course. Texas has one of the highest populations of American Indian Native people. This means a student that is a citizen or descendant of any of the 574 federally recognized tribes, or the 3 state-recognized tribes, or someone that has become detribalized can be sitting in a classroom right now. My personal motivation for championing this cause stems from being a mother to 2 sons that went through RISD. The cultural tapestry of our state is rich and diverse, deserving of a comprehensive representation. The curriculum is not merely a historical lens, it's a dynamic exploration of our thriving present. The range of American Indian Native cultures and traditions is so wide and varied that they deserve to be taught in a full course such as this to foster understanding of the wide spectrum of differences and not look at us as a people who only existed in the past. The standards that were written had to cover what could be taught in a year, and the cuts to content that we made to fit within the scope and to prepare the course for submission were at times painful for us. Thoughtful consideration has been given to make something that will engage students, and we hope it encourages them to be lifelong learners. This course stands today as a culmination of relentless refinement. It has had thousands of hours of editing and revising to get it to the innovative status. Starting from a grassroots call to the community, a group of dedicated people formed in support and for creation. Work Group E continued this process. I ask that you move this course forward through the process to the fully approved text course status. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lena Martinez-Wolfinger.
Good morning. Thank you so much for your time today. My name is Lena Martinez-Wolfinger, and it's been my privilege to work with the writers of the American Indian Native Studies course since 2020. While there's many valuable things that could be said about this course, I want to spend my time today highlighting an aspect that may not be apparent or familiar to everyone here. Specifically, I'd like to talk about detribalized Texans and the impact of positive identity formation on civic engagement. Like my parents, grandparents, and ancestors before them, I grew up in Texas. I grew up in rural Lee County schools and graduated from the suburbs of Williamson County before heading to Dartmouth for undergrad and then to law school, but always coming home to Central Texas. If you'd asked me back in grade school what my race was, I would have said Latina. When my white peers told me that I wasn't like the others, I'd go so far as calling myself Mexican, the people they were disparaging, even while knowing that my family had no transition story of coming from any other place to Texas. The truth is that we've always been here. Yet what we were taught in Texas schools was that the Indians had all been killed. A kind of sad ending for a noble people. So what was I then? At Dartmouth, I had the chance to be in community with Native Americans and learn that my own family practices and culture aligned with theirs. In New Zealand, I shared my family's story and learned that outside of the world where I grew up, there was a term for folks like me, detribalized, folks who didn't know their tribe, but not because they'd chosen to abandon it or to assimilate. Exposure to this knowledge and relationships was life-changing. Personally, it made me a stronger leader with a deeper understanding of the roots of my care for community, justice, freedom, and participation. I believe the same will be true not only for other young detribalized Texans, but also for students of all backgrounds whose education is enriched by exposure to new epistemologies and worldviews. With this in mind, I hope that you will consider moving this course forward when the time comes.
Thank you. I believe that's all the testifiers. Does anyone have questions?
I
we have questions. So if all four of you would please come forward. Thank you again for being here. And Dr. Ortega?
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you. I get very emotional, and I even had to stop myself right now before I started talking. Thank you. I also identify as detribalized. My family comes from the Lipan Apache Nation, so I'm very, very emotional when you all talk about this. And it's very sad that my own daughters and my family doesn't know where we come from, and we have to do extensive research just to find out any little piece of where we come from. People will say, oh, you're Hispanic or you're Latina. Technically, I'm Tejana because my family's been here the whole time. The line kept moving. I was, part of Mexico and part of Spain and part of France. So technically, my family, we're Tejanas or Tejanos. So I feel like really emotional, and very passionate about all the work that you all have done. And I commend you all, and I don't know why it's taken this long for this to come through. And I just want to thank you. So I really didn't have a question other than what does it feel like to finally learn? I don't remember your name. I'm so sorry. Lena, when you finally started to learn about your detribalized background, how did you feel?
Yeah, it was really powerful. I mean, I think I had a lot of leadership that got me to Dartmouth. There was a lot of good teachings that I already had from my family that were from those indigenous roots. So we had the practices, we had the values, the culture was there, the culture was intact, but we didn't know what to call it. And when I found out that there was this much broader community throughout the entire United States that were running this track of like, oh, there's all of these other people that I can connect with who understand me, who understand my humor in a way that our Mexican cousins, like, we love them, but we joke different. We eat different food. We come from a different land. The topography is different. And so just sort of being able to feel my place in that was so powerful and just really enriched my education because there were so many other ways to think about things that I had sort of been taught were just kind of weird. And it's like, oh no, there's a really rich
learn to embrace
academic study of this at the higher collegiate level. And there's no reason that those can't be taught at the lower grade levels as well.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is for probably both Lynette and Hawana. Lynette, I know you have been piloting that in Grand Prairie, and it sounds like it's going really well. And Hawana, are they doing anything like that in Richardson ISD? Have they started any pilots there? Either one of you can answer that. I don't know which one of you knows.
Well, we just got to innovative course status, and that didn't get approved till this summer. So there wasn't really
Oh, okay.
turnaround time for districts to really come on board because a lot of districts without having something at the state level are hesitant to take something from another district and implement it in their own district without TEA or state board approval. So there's been other districts talking to me about, hey, we want to start this next school year because there
Okay.
wasn't enough time to prepare for them for this school year.
All right. Okay. And Hawana, I know you're in my district, and I appreciate the drive down here. I know it's a long drive. I make it frequently, so I appreciate that. I am excited about our ethnic studies courses and hope that we can move this one forward as well. So thank y'all for being here.
Thank you.
More questions? Just wait.
I do want to thank you all so much for being here and for all the work you've put behind the course. Meetings and meetings and years of pilots and more meetings and, edits to the draft. So I thank you guys. And I've had a chance to talk to some students that were involved in the pilot, and they appreciate the course so much. It's been students from all different backgrounds, and the rich understanding that they've gotten from the course, it does something to them as a person and makes them want to learn more about each and every subject. So I thank you for how carefully you've crafted every word to build that course. And I think that's what I wanted to know more about, the process of actually developing the course. For the African American Studies course, we wanted to make sure it was very community driven. And we wanted to make sure it had a lot of perspectives. So can you tell me about building that course up from the ground up and the edits and the product that we have today?
Yes. Okay. So it started when our American Indian Education Coordinator at the district level, and myself, and then TCU, and also American Indian, oh my gosh, I don't want to get Heritage Day in Texas, a representative there. We all got together to plan a conversation event. And so without their help, I would have never been able to reach the scope of the Native community that they were able to provide with those relationships that they had. So we invited people across Texas. I mean, this went out on the American Indian, like some social media outlets that they had in their connections. And so we had people from Texas, from Oklahoma, come to our district February of 2020, right before COVID shut things down. So luckily we had this event. We had 70 plus Native members there. And so we basically talked about the layout of our social studies strands and asked questions of like, what would you want students to know about Native history? What would you want students to know about Native cultures? And that was all based on our strands and a few extra questions. And so we had community members in groups discussing these questions and putting it up on chart paper and going around like a gallery walk and adding things to other groups' chart papers. And that's where we generated like the big ideas for the course. And then from that community event, we took, we asked anybody want to volunteer to help write the course. So from there, we narrowed down and we had a committee of educators, parents, university college professors. We just had this rich community help write this. And so we worked throughout the pandemic because, March came that month after and shut things down. And so we continued our work on Zoom meetings. We had monthly Zoom meetings and we started building out the course based on those big ideas from that conversation event. And then we just kept working. And there were times we ended up going into small groups that worked on certain strands, and most committee members worked on a couple of strands and then brought it all together. And so we've been working for 3.5 years now. And so sometimes our meetings were weekly or a couple of times a week if we're doing some revisions to prepare it for, getting ready for the TEA or the work groups. So yeah, it was just ongoing. And then even our community members who are part of American Indian or tribal nation, they took it to their elders. And so they had elders that were, as far as I know, everybody was happy with the content. So our course is very unique in that we've had this approval, and wording is very important. The way things are worded are, so that it conveys that Native perspective, that meaning.
And I do see that we have a letter of approval from a Apache tribe.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Orlando, it looks like you submitted that.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Davis. Yeah, they're one of the main curriculum writers actually is Lipan Apache. And I now live in South Texas, so I've been in touch with the education lead there in the tribe. And they've been looking at the course for quite a while, and they were very happy to write this letter of support. And their main request is that it maintain its fidelity. The main fear is that it's going to go through this really political process, and then people may not be looking at it with an understanding of what American Indian Studies is, and may think, oh, this is just U.S. history that focuses on American Indians, but that's not what an ethnic studies course is. An ethnic studies course is an interdisciplinary field. American Indian Studies has been around since the 1970s. And so that's one of the main things they ask, that the fidelity of the course be maintained.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for all of this. We appreciate that. Oh,
Can I ask you to make sure you look on the back of my statement, the second page? Dr. Kenneth could not sign up to be a late speaker, and so I added his to mine.
we've got it. Thank you so much.
But that's added.
Waving from the back. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Presentation? Anything? Yeah, good job. Testifiers. All right, ladies.
All right, so one of the handout that I provided to you at the beginning of the testimony is the application that was approved this summer by the Commissioner of Education for the American Indian Native Studies course. And of course, your rules for innovative courses require that we bring forth any approved applications in ethnic studies to the committee for consideration as a potential TEKS-based course. So this item just really affords you with an opportunity to have that discussion and determine how you'd like to move forward with this course.
That does open it up for discussion for y'all, so just take your time to look through.
So is this a determination of the timeline on when we'll start moving through first reading, second reading, and?
First, you need to decide that you want to proceed with rulemaking.
Okay.
And then we can talk about timeline.
Is there a specific motion for that?
This is a discussion item.
Okay. I definitely would like to support the course moving forward. It's been vetted, it's been supported by many of the nations. It's been through a pilot of multiple years. Yay. So I truly support the course, and I hope that each of you do as well. And as a testifier spoke before, the course has been through several layers of review, including when we did social studies. We had a work group that actually looked at the course before. So in maintaining the fidelity of the course, we just have to make sure that we keep the information intact. Maybe just add a little razzle dazzle to make sure everybody is represented, or we see little technical edits and things like that, but just maintaining the fidelity. But I definitely support it moving forward as quickly as possible so other school districts do have access to it.
I also agree that this should definitely move forward. I'm curious who would teach these courses. Is there anybody that can tell me?
So what we ask the applicants to do in the application is to make recommendations for potential certifications that could be, that could teach the course. So on the last page, on page 20, you'll see what, it's a combination of efforts. The applicant makes some recommendations, and then curriculum staff works with staff and educator certification to finalize that list. So you, basically, social studies composite and secondary history certifications would be permitted to teach the innovative course. Then once if this were to become a text-based course, then SBEC would have the final decisions over any certifications.
Great, thank you.
On the very back page of the application, you'll see that it's social studies composite, and also history, secondary history certificate holders can teach the innovative course.
And this would be a course that would count as foundation or an elective?
This is an elective course because it's an innovative course. And then, of course, if it were adopted as text-based, it would continue to be an elective.
Any other questions? Go ahead. Your thoughts? Absolutely.
Can you use your microphone though? Sure.
All right, so thank you always for coming. It's welcome. I love the involvement, and I like your enthusiasm and your passion for getting a message out of one of the many voices in our nation. I do appreciate that. I think coming from my perspective and what I add to the board is I add a perspective of unity always. Unity with a special emphasis on cultural identity. I mean, what child doesn't want to feel like they're a part of something and that they are important and special? And I think that's what makes our nation great. And from the place that I'm coming from, of course, the majority vote wins. Is I would love to see a course like our ethnic studies kind of in a merging type of situation, if you will, where students of all nationalities see how we come together beautifully like a melting pot, here in the nations. So it's not just a one-legged course, but it's a course where we have our Native Americans, we have our African Americans. It's just because that is that is what America is, and it's what makes us a unique nation. And so that's the perspective I come from. I don't take away anything from who we are and the ethnicity and the differences in us, but I want an approach, or I would love to see an innovation where it shows the unity that we provide that makes all of us beautiful. And you're right. I like how someone said a lot of the students in these classes are non-American, Native American and Asian American students, because that is how you learn about different cultures. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes we're segregated at different parts when we're not in school, or in some places, like worship on Sundays in different places. So I think students do learn to respect and love one another in a position or in a class where it's more than one that's being represented, more than one group. At the college level, definitely, I know I've taken ethnic studies at the college level, but I think for grades, for this high school grade, and I don't know if it would ever go to lower grades than that, I think the main emphasis of a class, an ethnic studies course, should be more of a unity based ethnic class that shows the melting pot of how we all contribute in this nation. So I love also in the innovative part of this how the community members own this. I like how you opened it up like a town hall meeting, and you had contributors come from all over. You had parents, you had people from Native tribes come. I'm Blackfoot Indian and Black, so it's special when you can kind of say, these were the contributions of my people. I get it, but that's the perspective I'm coming from today, and that is where I stand. But a beautiful, innovative class idea, but again. Just kind of looking more broad, I would just like to encompass more than just one ethnicity group for a course.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
No, but just along the lines of what my colleague was saying, I do think that when we start talking about U.S. history, world history, it does have to be more inclusive. I think this is an opportunity to do a really deep dive into a specific cultural study. But when we do those U.S. history, world history classes, we do need to have that mentality that it does need to be a better representation of all different folks at Melting Pot. But for this course, it's a deep dive. And there are actually a lot of college programs and graduate studies that are based on Native American studies, American Indian studies. So those students that will be interested in pursuing that long term, this would definitely help them with that foundation. Any student that wants to have some sort of history background, being able to deep dive into one culture really does give you that perspective that you can apply to different things. So I am going to encourage my colleagues to have that mentality when we do that history review in a couple of years, because we do need to be more inclusive of who we, talk about. But for this course in particular, I do appreciate the deep dive into a culture that we really have not included enough in our main courses for history.
I'd like to piggyback on that. I definitely think it's what makes the difference between our foundational courses and our elective courses. And this would remain an elective course, a course for credit. However, the students have the option of attending, this course. And so I agree. And I agree. So thank you for that discussion. Any other? No. I'm just gonna reiterate, we got smart people on
Then
this
I
board.
would just kind of want to walk you through one possible timeline, the earliest possible that if this committee were interested in moving forward with this as a text-based course, we would propose, well, the earliest possible would be bringing it to discussion to the full board in November. Full board, I'm sorry, I'm looking over at Monica for full board. Then first reading in January and second reading, final adoption in April. Now, I say that's the earliest possible. I've read the course multiple times, so I reread it this morning, and as Ms. Davis said, I'm not sure that we'll put razzle dazzle on it, but it does need a little bit of fine tuning, which, you know, we could bring that to you in your recommendations.
I have a question. I always say TEKS. I know you hate TEKS, but I'm curious about, you're saying a TEKS-based course, is that different from an innovative course? I'm sorry, still
Yes.
learning.
So,
Okay, so,
yes, it is.
so then if we move it towards being a TEKS-based course, are you, would it be something that students would be required to take in lieu of like a foundational, or it would just be part of that?
No. So
Okay.
the similarity between innovative and this particular courses, TEKS-based courses, they'd still only earn state elective credit for the course. However, it would be adopted by the State Board of Education into your Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. Currently, districts are required for innovative courses to get their local school board to approve their ability to offer the course. That's not necessarily the case with the TEKS.
So would they be tested like based on the TEKS or anything like that? Okay,
It's not a tested course.
okay, all right, thank you.
Question, the timeline that you gave with having a discussion for the full board in November, if we do second reading by April, would the course be available to school districts by the next school year? What would that be, 24, 25?
That would give, it wouldn't give a lot of time for districts to prepare, but it would give them time if they were interested in offering it beginning in August.
Because they'd have a PEAMS coding available upon there, and they could adopt it as a course.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so one more question then. So the difference between an innovative course and a TEKS-based course, does that mean that if it is TEKS-based, it'd be harder to remove, I guess, from, or, I mean,
So I think the next item that was actually supposed to be the first item is to talk through your amendments to rules for innovative courses. What this committee discussed at the last meeting is a process for sunsetting courses. So
Right.
that is something that will, I anticipate, be built in related to innovative courses. Your rulemaking is a little bit different. I'm trying to think, I'm not sure that I can think of an example of the State Board of Education eliminating a TEKS-based course through review and revision, except for maybe CTE, where we may have had work groups recommend that certain CTE courses be sunset and replaced with something else. But it's, I don't think it's common that the board goes in and removes courses that you have adopted as TEKS-based courses.
so the TEKS-based courses would award students different types of credit, basically, right? Okay. Like versus the, I'm just trying to understand the difference. You know, if we're going to move this forward towards a TEKS-based course, I'm curious what the difference is between it just being considered a innovative course,
So
I
I
guess.
think what you heard from some of your testifiers is that there may not be a practical difference, but there may be a difference in perception.
Okay.
So I think school districts take very seriously anything that is approved
TEKS-based.
by the State Board of Education. And so that's, and I think Ms. Ramos also talked about, you know, they don't have to get local school board approval, but for a student, it's the same type of credit. The course would likely look very similar, but it is just this board saying this is something that we want to have administrative code as an option for school districts.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions or discussions on this item? Okay.
Do you want us to put a discussion item on the next agenda? Or you want to wait?
Member
Are we
Little?
finished with this course? Because mine's about the Asian American. Could we get an update
Oh,
on
okay.
that?
Yeah, we're not finished with this yet.
Okay, all right.
Yes, ma'am. The answer to that question is please place it on the full board as a discussion item.
Thank you.
Let's, as I started this whole meeting with, let's get this party started. A little razzle dazzle. All right.
Oh, yes, ma'am. So update on the Asian American
Yes, there you go.
studies course. I can tell you that I just know kind of anecdotally that they did find a district to partner with, and it's being piloted this school year.
Which district?
I believe it's Austin ISD.
Round
Don't
Rock, I believe.
It's Round Rock, thanks. So we'll talk about in the next item timelines with future innovative course applications. So
All right, thank you.
All right. I believe that finishes this item. All right, moving backwards. Item 1. Thank y'all.
all right. So item 1 is first reading and filing authorization for your proposed amendments to your rules on innovative courses. So if you recall at the last meeting, this committee had a conversation about possible changes to your rules on innovative courses. So in your agenda on page Roman numeral 2-4, apologies, I don't have the PDF in front of me to tell you that page number. You'll see the recommendations that we are bringing to you based on your conversation from the June meeting. So I'll just kind of quickly walk you through those recommendations. At the top, you can see where we've struck through the language that grants the commissioner authority to approve innovative courses that fall in the foundation or enrichment curriculum. So that would then mean that all innovative course applications would require SBOE approval. Down proposed A6, you'll see some language that would establish that CTE innovative courses that are designated for a program of study would be exempt from the piloting requirement. That would allow them to get approved and made available to districts faster. Proposed A7 would establish that new innovative courses would be approved for a period of 3 years and renewal courses for a period of 5 years. As you know, right now, that's really kind of determined on a case-by-case basis by this committee.
Explain why the 3 years.
Yes, and so the 3 years is recommended because historically, this committee's expressed an interest for new courses to have a shorter approval period. That would allow the applicant to go in and make changes. Once a course gets implemented, they're going to find that there are places where they need to make adjustments and improve upon it. That would allow them an opportunity to do that and bring it back to the board for renewal.
Sorry, but also I think staff pointed out that once a course is approved, it does take a little while for districts to actually be able to implement. So if we went with a 1-year approval, you would likely see very low enrollment. And so this was an attempt to try to strike that balance of having it approved long enough for folks to be able to implement, but not so long that they don't have a chance to come back to you.
And then in A9, so that's what we're proposing in A9 is essentially a sunset process. So every other year, TEA staff would review all approved innovative courses and bring forth a list to this committee for any courses that met the criteria in A through F. So only courses that had been approved for a period of 3 years. And the rationale for that 3-year period is, as Monica said, it takes a few years for those courses to really gather steam and be implemented in districts. So we wanted to provide courses that opportunity to really get off the ground. We would bring forth any courses that had 0 enrollment for 2 consecutive years. Any course that had an average of less than 100 students statewide over the time period for under review. Any course,